Happy 4th of July, Facebook. I've got Hal Gainey with me here today, and we're going to talk about voice over IP or VoIP or voice over internet protocol, whatever you want to call it. I don't just wear cat shirts with flags on them just because. Happy 4th of July. We're glad to be coming to you on Independence Day. So, Hal's been working hard out at the barbecue right now. So, but we're going to come to you with a 4-part series, really to kind of go over what voice over IP is. Next week, we're going to talk a little bit about how voice over IP can save you money as an organization. The week after that, we're looking to come and talk to you about our voice over IP solution as a whole and how we implement that for our clients, the feature set associated with that. And then at the last end of that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do kind of a wrap up. So as we have these different discussions, if there's things where you have questions, put those questions in our comments, and when we do our final wrap up at the end of the month, we can go and respond to those, or at least incorporate those into what we talk about, because I think there's a lot to digest, not in terms of understanding what voice over IP is, but just understanding really how you can effectively use it in your business. So thank you for coming and visiting
Thanks for
having me. We were kind of bantering back and forth about what 15 minutes on Facebook Live was going to be before we jumped in. So, I'll go ahead and throw it out there for you. I think that what Facebook doesn't understand, or what we're trying to explain here, is what voice over IP is. So, short answer.
The short answer. Voice over IP is basically the technology that will convert your voice into a digital signal. This allows you to make calls from the internet, your computer, VoIP phones, other data-driven devices such as mobile phones. It allows you to basically take your phone with you everywhere you go.
Right. I think one of the things that, and if we just kind of go back to and we're going to kind of, I don't want to say the olden days, but let's go back to analog telephones. What a lot of people may not realize or may not know is that the telco companies have been doing this for a long time. They've been converting that analog signal coming out of your phone into a digital signal, and using that to transmit it long distance and save themselves significant amount of money on infrastructure.
Right.
I think what VoIP ends up doing, which we'll talk about the cost savings next week, is it really takes that same ability and passes it down to you now as the consumer instead of it existing on the telco side.
That is a huge advantage to moving to voice over IP.
Right.
Is that exactly?
Right.
Most people, when they have a phone system in days gone past, they would have to have two networks. They would have to have their data network for their computers and printers and things, and then they would have to have a whole other separate network of cabling, of devices and things like that.
Right.
That's going away.
Right.
With the VoIP, you're able to leverage the same infrastructure that you have for your computers,
right,
and all of your other IP devices.
Right. I think one of the other things too that if we go back into VoIP, the essential part is that you're still going to have a phone on your desk, or you still can have a phone on your desk. Not only can you have the phone on your desk, but you can have it on your mobile device. You can have it on your iPad if you want to. You can have it on your laptop. So now your phone number's with you. It's almost like number portability, right? It follows you everywhere you go. But then to add to that, it doesn't get rid of that. It just creates more capability. So now your company is more expandable. You can scale better. You can, whether that's up or down. You're not making that initial investment into a phone system. And not only that, but you can also take that and say, okay, well, let's disperse our workforce geographically. Maybe I have remote workers, and I need them to have a phone in their house with their extension. In a call center type of scenario or something like that, like what we're doing. We even have employees here that do that.
Yeah.
Up probably 60 miles away in Crystal River, we've got employees that are working geographically dispersed. So.
Yeah. Well, that is a topic that when our clients find out that they can send a staff member home with a phone, or they could, be available on their mobile phone just as if they were sitting at their desk, or doing it on their iPad.
Right.
I'm always surprised at how many people are shocked that that's available, because in days gone past, you just couldn't do it.
Right.
You had your company phone system. Maybe you could call forward out to some other number.
Right.
But never could you have a device that was the same as your desk phone.
Right.
And so yes, having telecommuting staff members and other type of dispersed workforce, you can leverage voice over IP. As long as those devices can get to the internet, they can get to the phone system.
Right. I think I know that I've seen a lot of organizations where we've implemented VoIP and they've been able to eliminate this whole concept of only put mobile numbers on business cards, because they can put just the one business line and they can put that person's extension, and now if that person was ever to leave the company, they don't have to worry about whether or not the person that whether or not their clients were able to get a hold of somebody, because they can call the regular company line like they used to, dial that person's extension, and forward that to the new employee or whatever else. I think there's a huge advantage there. Not only from a call it corporate proprietary trade data type of stuff, but just from the general continuity when you have employee changeover and things like that.
Well, and that is true, especially for mobile devices. If you have staff members who are out there using their mobile phones to make calls to call clients, those calls are going to show. If you don't have a VoIP system, the calls are going to show traditionally the number of the cell phone, and I can tell you how many times people want to give out their mobile phones to the clients. If you use VoIP and you make a call, it's going to show the number of the company.
Right.
If someone calls you back, it's going to come into the company's phone system. If someone leaves a voicemail, it's going to be on the company's voicemail system rather than the employee's personal cell phone.
Right. I think one of the adding to that, when we talk about using a VoIP system from a mobile device, I've seen significant advantages doing that, especially when I'm traveling. I know I've been international before and used a VoIP system before, and to be able to, you can actually, in that case, hop on hotel Wi-Fi, sign into your VoIP application, make a phone call through that. It looks just like you're sitting in your U.S. number. You don't have to pay roaming charges or anything because you're on the Wi-Fi connection now. So that's a cost savings there. And then once you actually make that call, the identification the caller gets when they receive that call from you is just like you're sitting right there. I mean, like you're sitting. I could do it like I'm sitting here at Datatech's office, and I could be halfway around the world sitting in Sri Lanka on a Wi-Fi connection and making a telephone call. And as far as anybody knows, they're none the wiser. I'm sitting in my office here in Tampa.
Yeah. How many times have you called let's say your insurance company to get some information about a claim, and you hear the customer service rep's dog bark in the background?
Right.
So,
right.
So large companies see the benefit of this because it is able to allow them to disperse their employees wherever they want to.
Right.
They don't have to have them in the big corporate buildings that cost millions of dollars.
Right. I think one of the things that always is a deterrent is having a good partner that understands VoIP. I know that we've actually built our VoIP division as a whole, where we have separate dedicated resources for that. I mean, Hal is a VoIP engineer, which we were talking about right before we started broadcasting. There's a drastic difference between somebody having a VoIP engineer versus just a standard, call it IT engineer or services engineer, because I don't want to say eccentricities, but the complications associated with transmitting voice versus data. And
yeah, it is different, but it's the same in a lot of ways too, because at the end of the day, you're really pushing around IP packets. It's just the data that gets transferred, and in the world of VoIP, the packets that you push around are voice packets.
Right.
So there are some differences of being able to troubleshoot it. That's the most difficult part, is to try to make sure that there's a clean stream of audio. VoIP is always in the infancy stages. They would get bad knocks on it because they would start to say, well, I start to hear jumbled audio,
right, or like echoing. I remember echoing. It was like a stadium effect.
It was bad.
Right.
With the way that internet service providers are kind of beefing up their bandwidth packages, a lot of that has been remedied. You don't have these small voice pipes to try to push stuff through. It's quite a large pipe, especially if it's on your corporate network.
Right.
But there are some specialties in that only people who deal with VoIP have to worry about.
Right. with VoIP, I think the one thing that really would be a major thing for our client base or our customers that are watching this to understand is that when you have a VoIP system, let's go back previously because I've used local systems like Northstar, things like that. When you have a local phone system, you essentially buy a phone system. You say, okay, I've got it. It has this feature set. I'm limited to that feature set. And then maybe that provider of that equipment comes out with an expansion card or something like that to add a new feature, or things of that nature. And you've got to, you want to add extra handsets, so you've got to add an extra box. Everything's adding an extra box. With VoIP, it's infinitely scalable, and you're going to get infinite features too.
Oh yeah.
So there is gone are the days of saying, well, I have to buy this expansion card to make my phone system handle the extra capacity.
Right. Or
I have to, get my phone system software reprogrammed because I don't have this feature.
Right.
That's all gone. All that capability now has been placed inside of your cloud telephone system, and instead all you have to worry about is, okay, I have this device and I want this other one that has 8 buttons instead of 10 buttons.
Yeah, I kind of feel sorry for the old telecom providers in the past. They were able to bill clients every time that they made an extension change.
Right.
I don't really feel sorry for them because now, for us to make a change, such as that, we do it from our data center,
right,
and it's automatically pushed out to the phone.
Yeah.
So everything that we do after the phones are installed, it's going to be remote.
Right. Right.
And the ability to have everything hosted in the cloud versus having expensive hardware on your location that's going to be affected by power, heat,
right,
or other type of environmental settings. You don't really have that anymore with the VoIP system that
right.
we have.
So I think just to kind of break it down, you can I'm going to try and make this as simple as I can, and I could be incorrect as I go. So just jump in if I am.
Yeah.
When a voice packet, how this actually works, when a voice packet comes through the telephone handset, it's going to come through that handset. The handset itself is going to go ahead and create a digital data packet.
Mm-hmm.
That data packet's going to transmit across the internet to we call it a carrier trunk provider. That provider is going to initiate that call to the local telco, wherever that exchange is,
mm-hmm.
and then that's going to initiate the call all the way down to the local phone.
Right.
And so that whole entire process on your end is entirely seamless. You're going from digital voice packets across the digital network to some place along the line where it turns it from digital to analog
mm-hmm.
to go ring somebody's telephone, in theory,
mm-hmm.
unless they're also on VoIP too, and then
right.
you're going to deal with that.
Right.
But was I right on that, or
no?
Okay.
Basically, that's kind of the path that your voice takes to get to someone's ear.
Right.
And there are several moving parts along the way.
Yeah.
And as you had mentioned, it leaves your network. It goes to your carrier. Then your carrier communicates with the callee's carrier, and then to their phone.
Right.
So that.
Right.
That is how it traverses.
Okay. So what I'll say is, just to add to that, if you have a cell phone right now and you're making a cell phone call, it's doing the same exact process. The same exact process that would happen with a voice over IP phone is exactly what's happening with your cell phone when you make that call right now today. Right. So the technology is there. The technology exists. It's a proven technology. I think that this is going to be a real good month for us in terms of going through all those features. And I look forward to sharing more about VoIP with you, and I hope that this is going to be educational for all of our Facebook followers online. So thank you for coming, Hal.
Thanks for
We'll
having
see you
me.
next week because we're going to go through even more stuff. So
Yeah.
next week we're going to go ahead and talk about how this can actually save you money. Obviously there's some capital expense, operating expense costs, and we'll talk about how that can actually save you money as a company, and what the costs are associated with that. And we'll get into some of the intricacies of other ways you can save money when you have dispersed workforces and different locations and all kinds of stuff. So
well, I
thank
like
you.
saving money, yes, for sure.
Have a happy 4th of July.